can come right after the period and grab 3 for $1, and all the proceeds go to Writers Week. Also, if you want to purchase one of these amazing posters, Writers Week posters from this year, you can purchase those for $10, okay? First of all, let's thank Mr. Anderson and Mrs. Inc. for putting together such an amazing week. They put so much, this is not, a month ahead, 2 months ahead, this is a year project, so thank them for that. And thank your teachers, just turn to them right now and thank them for taking you. Because without them bringing you here, this doesn't happen. Well, we're really lucky this period we get to see 2 amazing faculty read their work, and then you guys get to see a little bit of their lives, which as a student I would have loved, because we usually, we feel like our teachers just sleep under their desk and don't have a life outside of school. So we're gonna start with Mrs. Natalie Soto. Give her a hand.
I actually don't have much of a life outside of school, but I just wanted to do a little quick shout out to my AP German class up there. It's kind of appropriate that I'm doing this. I've had them for 4 years. Most of them had them for all 4 years, and so I've gotten to watch them grow up, and this piece is about growing up, and it's kind of a cool thing. It's like seeing them go. It's bittersweet, and but they've been pretty awesome for 4 years. So before I get started, I have a little bit of a warning or disclaimer. If there are any young children in the audience, parents, I suggest you go take a little walk for the next 20 minutes, because I'm about to do some damage here. So. Oh, wait. So before any good story, I think it's always a good idea to kind of get you acquainted with the characters, and these characters are my 2 favorite people in the universe. Here they are. Maybe. There they are. Those are my 2 kids. That guy on the left is Jack. He is going to be 11 next week, and his sister Danny on the right, or left. And there's them. They are, just a little bit brief thing, they are best buds. They think they are amazing. They love each other. Jack is a huge rule follower. Danny thinks rules are stupid. So it's a kind of a good relationship. So this is about them. And long ago, before my husband and I had children, he asked me if I thought it was okay if we lied to our kids. I thought the question rather odd, considering we're both honest to a fault. And it was very important to both of us to raise any and all future offspring with an honesty that would make Abraham Lincoln look like Pinocchio. We don't even have kids yet, and you want to know if we should lie to them? I don't get it, I said. No, I mean, like with make-believe stuff, he said. Like what? Santa? Yeah, I mean, are we gonna lie about that? I suppressed an eye roll of epic proportions, and I told him, yes, it's fine. Kids don't care if it's lying if you give them presents while you're doing it. At any rate, they'll eventually forgive us. No one ever wound up in therapy because his parents lied to him about the existence of Santa as a kid. Initially, I kind of thought he was a bit of an idiot. On the plus side, I realized that my husband would never ever lie to me, which was mostly good, except for maybe someday if I ever wanted an honest opinion on the question, does this make me look fat? For the record, I have never asked this. Looking back, however, I can see his point. It is somewhat messed up. We teach our kids important life lessons, only to later make disturbing exceptions. Hey kid, don't talk to strangers. Oh, except for when I bring you to one who's in a strange costume, make you sit on his lap, and have you tell him sneak into your house while you're asleep. Or, hey kid, don't take candy from strangers except for when you dress up in costume and go from one stranger's house to another and beg for it. Or, hey kid, there's this creepy lady who wants your tea. So, when they fall out of your head, just put them under your pillow so she can sneak into your window at night and get them. But don't worry, she'll leave you some cash. Why don't you put them right outside your door, you ask? No, that won't work. She wants them right under your pillow, nice and close to your head, because it's much easier to extract a minuscule tooth from under your head that way. Did I mention she goes from house to house collecting teeth? From time to time, I considered ending the Santa charade. Initially, it wasn't so much the lying as it was the sheer terror that struck my daughter every time she met the guy. That's a good one. That was my that was pretty awesome, but it's not my favorite. Yes. Who am I kidding? Danny's trips to visit Santa made me willing to continue the Santa tradition until she was well into her 30s. I mean, I'd stand in line all day if it meant I could have this keepsake. See, here she now has turned her hatred to Mrs. Claus for marrying the psycho. Santa visits got decidedly less amusing when she started thinking he was cool. It's so lame, so lame. Later on, it got tiring coming up with fake letters from Santa. It was hard to figure out how to divide up the gifts between the ones mom and dad from mom and dad and the ones from the big guy. I mean, I love the magic of Christmas, but there is no planet in the universe where I'm going to let some fake guy take the credit for the very real Nintendo Switch that I purchased with my love and hard-earned money. But the thing that truly almost tipped the scales, let's just say there are a few things that I hate in this world. There are even fewer things I hate that are related to children, but they exist. Number 1, Play-Doh. I've spent hours trying to get that crap out of various carpets and pieces of furniture in my home, not to mention how bad it messes with my OCD when my kids mix those colors. You know, that stuff does not go back into its original can. You know that? Yeah. Number 2, kinetic sand. The year my mother-in-law got this for my children was the year I knew she hated me for sure. Number 3, glitter. I have actually reduced the size of a preschool teacher's Christmas gift when they once sent my kid home with a backpack full of glitter from a project. Number 4, Fun Dip. Fun Dip is the glitter of the candy world, okay? And the worst of all, number 5, the elf on a shelf. I don't know who came up with this brilliant idea, and when I say brilliant, I mean positively horrendous. But if I ever find that guy, he better run. To make matters worse, I was the genius who thought, hey, I have a boy and a girl. Wouldn't it be a great idea to get 2 elves? Now I needed 2 hiding places for every night for 24 nights. I don't need algebra to tell me that's 48 hiding places in my little house. And I didn't settle for any elves, any small elves. No, I had to buy giant elves. I mean, these guys are so big, they can ride all the rides at Disney World. Little did I know that this adorable little idea would have me waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat on more than one occasion, realizing that I'd forgotten to hide them. When your heart briefly stops and you get out of bed to move those things, you don't just bounce back from that. No, and fall away peacefully. Fall asleep peacefully. The real magic of those elves is their ability to keep you awake for a good hour afterwards. Plus, I was running out of places to hide them. Mostly, I just really wanted to hide them in a lit fireplace or in a wood chipper. This year I was particularly forgetful and had to come up with elaborate lies as to why the elves didn't get off their shelves at all some days. The elves were too tired a lot. Needless to say, I was ready to pull the plug on the elves, but when you do that, you also pull the plug on Santa. And though my 5th grade son Jack may be nearing the end of his time to believe, my 9-year-old daughter Danny lives for magic. For Danny, Santa is so magical, so powerful, and so good that she actually asked him to bring back our dead cat for Christmas. If you don't believe me. So this says, for those of you who can't read, I hope I have been good this year. For Christmas, I would like these things: sports cards, a hoverboard, sea creature pen, a new sea creature calendar, a sea creature poster. But there is a big wish for you, Santa. I miss my cats, Harley and Inky, very, very much. Could you please bring them back? From Danny. P.S. For Christmas, we will be in Florida. She got a couple of those things, but not the cat. Thank God. So even though I wasn't looking forward to figuring out what Santa could do that would be the next best thing to reincarnating our dearly departed friend, I wasn't ready to completely do away with Santa either. Danny's capacity for joy is so massive that no one ever wants to be the one to deflate it. I mean, look at this. She likes to write notes. Hers is her future. Number 1, go to college in Florida, because that's where sea creatures are. Number 2, become a marine biologist. We have to work on her spelling. Number 3, get married. P.S. I'm not drawing a picture of this time. 2, adopt 2 kids, 1 boy and 1 girl, because she thinks actually having children is disgusting. 5, get 2 cats, a white one and a gray one, named Duncan and Mikey. And 6, live an awesome life. And she pretty much is. One time when she was 5, she had this necklace that she loved, and she was twirling around and playing with it, and she broke it, and I was like, oh no, she's gonna be so sad. And she looked at me and she goes, ha, now I have a lasso. Right? So that's the kind of joy that this kid had. So would you want to break this child's heart? No, I don't think so. So however, avoiding it was becoming gradually more difficult due to my son's increasing curiosity. On the way to Danny's art class about a week before Christmas, I heard the dreaded question from the back of the minivan. Mom, is Santa real? My stomach dropped and I looked at my white knuckles gripping the steering wheel, hoping that Jack would somehow get distracted by something else in the car. Anything else that would make it so that maybe his little sister could pretend like she hadn't heard him. Or maybe she could even help distract him. I'd fielded the question a few times before. Most recently, about a month ago, he asked the same question, but before I could come up with some answer that would satisfy him without being a flat-out lie, Danny interrupted with, "Of course not, Jack. Do you really think Mom and Dad would spend that much money on us?" I was like, yeah, wait. Yeah? But this time it was a little different. This time after he asked Mom, is Santa real, he added, because Brody said he wasn't real at school today. You know, it's a little harder to make up lies when you bring in a secondary source. Thanks, Brody. I think I mumbled some nonsense about, if you don't believe, you won't receive, and that was enough for him, and thankfully for Danny, who was already envisioning dangling yarn for her dead cat to bat around under the tree that year when Santa brought her back to life. I dropped Danny off at class, and Jack and I then headed to Starbucks to wait for her class to be over. We usually sit with some coffee and hot chocolate, and I grade papers while he does homework. But this time was different. I finally realized that I couldn't delay it any longer. I was going to have to kill Santa. My stomach started to churn as I ordered our hot chocolate and coffee. I went back and forth in my head. Was I doing this too soon? Didn't he already kind of know? If I did it now, would he blow it for Danny? I remembered that I myself started having my own questions about Santa in the 4th grade. My aha moment came when my parents convinced me to leave a glass of wine next to the cookies instead of milk. I still pretended to believe for about another year, so I would still get presents. I eventually concluded that many of Jack's friends had already cracked the Santa code, and that it would be easier coming from me than from yet another kid on the playground. I sat down and passed him his hot chocolate, because destroying childhood dreams is always easier with whipped cream. Hey buddy, we need to talk. Okay, so you've been asking a lot of questions about Santa lately. Yeah? What? Realization started to set in across his face, and he meekly asked, oh no, is it true? Is he real? I slowly and sadly shook my head. No, buddy. Tears began to well in his eyes, and my heart started to break as I wondered if I really blew it. Had I jumped the gun? Did he wholeheartedly believe and I just stomped all over his sweet soul? Buddy, I thought you already kind of knew. I did, but I just didn't want it to be true. I breathed a silent sigh of relief as he swiped at the tears in his eyes, not wanting the rest of Starbucks to see him crying. I'm sorry. It was easy making up stuff before, but now you've been directly asking questions, and I just don't want to outright lie to you. But I also don't want Danny to know yet. She's still little. Are you mad at me for telling you? No. I just wish I didn't ask. So, is that you that gets us all the presents? Yep. That's so much money. Yes. More tears began to spill down his face. But how do you know? How do I know what? How do you know to get us stuff? Do the elves tell you? Clearly my theory regarding the domino effect of make-believe characters after the unmasking of one did not apply to my son. Jack looked away and sat quietly for a while. Then a flash of realization crossed his face. His eyes widened and he quickly turned to me. Wait. Oh my God. The Easter Bunny isn't real either, is he? Nope, that's me too. This time, instead of crying, he fortunately burst out laughing. Are you even serious right now, Mom? Jack, did you seriously think that a ginormous rabbit came into our house to hide eggs? Rabbits don't even lay eggs. More laughter from Jack. Wait! The elves! Me. Jack, I hate those stupid elves with a white-hot passion. Why do you think they haven't been hiding lately? Because we've been bad? Good God, kid. No, because I forget over and over and over. And the elves don't bring the advent calendars. You do! Yep, me. All me. Is that all? Are there more fake things? Wait, let's see. There's 4th of July. That's real. Thanksgiving. Turkeys are real, Jack. Halloween. Pumpkins, real. So that's it. I quickly scanned through the holidays and then I thought of the creepy tooth collector. There's one more. What? I've gone through them all. This one's kind of a year-round thing. I pointed to my teeth. Jack jolted out of his seat and doubled over laughing. Oh my gosh, I knew it! Yeah, totally, right? Jack, I mean, think about how weird that would be for a little winged lady to come in around trading teeth for money. He laughed until he could barely speak. But what do you do with the teeth? I throw them out because that's revolting. I know, some people keep them. I've had lengthy discussions with friends who keep all of their children's teeth. I personally can't do it without feeling like a serial killer. I mean, can you imagine if someone accidentally came across a bag of teeth in your home? In the end, what started out as a rather heartbreaking affair had us both laughing so hard that the happy tears quickly overwhelmed the sad ones. I thought the big reveal would make me sad because it was just another indication that my baby was growing up way too fast. What I got was an hour that I will remember for the rest of my life. I had thought that breaking the news to Jack would mean that the magic would disappear. But I realized that the magic didn't disappear at all. It just changed shape. He also thought it was rather cool that he would get to be my little helper. As far as he was concerned, he was now part of a super special secret club, and that was pretty exciting. I'm not saying it went off without any hitches. I did have to tell him to stop giving the word Santa air quotes every time he talked about him. I also had to tell him to stop exaggeratedly winking at me whenever the big guy's name was brought up. And while watching the part in the movie Elf where they sing Santa Claus is Coming to Town, I had to remind him that it wasn't terribly helpful when they sang the line, "He knows when you are sleeping," and he responded, "No, he doesn't," when his sister was in such close proximity. Eventually he figured it out and Danny was none the wiser. I appreciated how well he played along, how he laid out the cookies and helped usher Danny to bed. I loved how he sweetly whispered, "Thank you for everything," after opening presents from Santa on Christmas Day. Mostly I loved that I didn't have to hide the damn elves anymore because my new Christmas apprentice thinks it's amazing. Oh, see how big they are? They're massive. Just last week, Jack lost a tooth for the first time since finding out that the whole tooth fairy thing is just a big sham. After we tucked Danny in, he got into bed and whispered, "Mom, my tooth is in here, but don't worry, you don't have to leave me any money." I smiled at my sweet, thoughtful boy and informed him, "Jack, I very much look forward to throwing your tooth in the garbage and leaving you cash tonight." Maybe it isn't as magical or creepy, but it's enough. As it turns out, kids don't really care if you're lying when they realize that the magic isn't in some bearded man in a red suit or in a tiny winged tooth collector, but rather in the fact that your parents love you enough to try their best to make the magic happen for you for as long as they can. As for me, I feel like I've handled this parenting hurdle like a pro. Up next, where babies come from. I think I'll tell him that Santa brings them and really blow his mind. Thank you. Up next, Mr. Dawson.
always feel like I'm going to break this. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? All right. Hi, everyone. It's good to see all of you today. Shout out to my second hour English class. Oh, thank God they cheered. I was worried that they weren't. All right. So normally I read an essay, but I'm doing something a little different this year. I have a whole bunch of poems, like old and new ones, that I've compiled over the years. Is that okay if I read those to you? Yeah? Cool, thank you. Some are lighthearted, some are serious, so I tried to alternate them. I spent about 10 minutes figuring out my order last night. So what I was thinking about doing is I was thinking about kind of giving the context for the poem and then reading it, just so you kind of get an idea of where my thinking was for each one. So the first one, how many of you like scary movies? Any scary movie fans in here? I can't see hands, so say yes, me. Yes. Okay. So a few years ago, my wife went to dinner with her family, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to come to dinner with me and my family?" And I said, "No." So I was like, "I'm going to stay home and watch a movie." So I decided to watch. I went onto HBO, and I was looking for a scary movie, and I found this movie. It's called A Cure for Wellness, and I don't know if anybody has heard of that movie. It's decent. It's not too bad. You can IMDb it right now if you really want to. It's okay. And it's not like a slasher film or anything like that. So I'm like, all right, this won't be bad. It was done by the guy that did The Ring, so that kind of gives you an idea of the type of movie it is. So I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I'm watching it. It's like 7 o'clock. And I've watched plenty of horror movies, but after about 45 minutes, I'm just getting increasingly more terrified of being in my house by myself watching this movie. But I kept watching it. So the next day I wrote this poem, and what you are about to hear is literally all the things I said and thought and did to try and calm myself down as an adult man watching a scary movie in my house. So this is aptly titled, After Watching a Horror Movie When Your Wife Has Gone to Dinner with Her Family. So I hope you like it. Hey, remember, you are 29 years old, almost 30, arguably 1/3 of the way toward the sunset of your life. You pay a mortgage. You are an adult. That grotesque fountain of blood you saw was as harmless as strawberry syrup. Much better for ladling over ice cream instead of that bald man's caved-in head, which looks like a jack-o'-lantern after the squirrels got to it. Yeah, you did see leeches get funneled into a man's mouth so that he can excrete a life-giving elixir for the evil doctor. You did see that. But not all doctors are evil. Remember, you haven't visited your doctor in over 3 years. She probably forgot your name. And you forgot her name and only remember it when the immediate care told you last week. And her office is not in a sterile sanitarium in the Swiss Alps. It's in a strip mall in Buffalo Grove by a Lou Malnati's. Besides, you've never seen a leech in Hoffman Estates. You've only seen one in Minnesota on a family trip. Your dad stepped on it to try and bait it on his fishing rod. It didn't work, and the leech had the Nike symbol imprinted on it. The leech would be mad at your dad, not at you, even though you were there. Leeches are probably incapable of holding grudges. The wooden floor by your kitchen island has always been creaky. The wooden floor by your kitchen island has always been creaky. Yes, the dark room you passed downstairs gave you a chill at approximately 9:12 p.m. No, a ghost is not hiding in the bathroom with the wobbly toilet. It is perfectly normal for an adult man to flip the light switch and jump up your staircase 2 steps at a time. Tell yourself it's exercise or something. Try not to be too excited when your wife says she's on her way home. Definitely do not look at the time she texted you and begin to extrapolate, accounting for the thunderstorm that is currently happening outside, what time she'll arrive home. On that note, stop thinking about the thunderstorm that is currently happening outside your house right now. Play today's top country hits at your kitchen table because you've totally been meaning to listen to country music. Not because you need to get your mind on dirt roads and solo cups, rather than a dude pulling the skin off his scalp like a bad Halloween mask. Don't kill the cat when it meows by your leg suddenly. Don't breathe a sigh of relief when the garage door opens. And definitely don't tell your wife about the past 2.5 hours. Thank you. Okay, lighthearted, serious, here we go. So a few weeks ago I was driving and I looked up in like a tree when I was driving and there was this hawk kind of like circling the treetop. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these like finches, these really small birds, just come out of nowhere and start attacking this hawk, like going up really high and like dive bombing this hawk. So I thought that was really interesting, and so I Googled what that was, like a nerd, and it's called mobbing. This is something that birds do, which is whenever there's like an attack on their nest, birds, no matter the size, they will attack that predator that is approaching the nest. And I think that that's super cool. Like this hawk could easily eat any of those birds, but they all team together to fight for that. So so I just thought that that's super cool. And I thought of my mom. My mom and dad are right here. So say hi, Mr. and Mrs. Dawson. My mom is a tough Polish lady. She also beat breast cancer a few years ago, so let's give her a round of applause. So this is a super short poem, but I thought of my mom when I saw that. So it goes like this. From her perch flying, death from above. Her shadow appears larger in the sun, facing blood and talons to protect the one she loves. It is no surprise that your maiden name, Sroka, means crow. Thank you. Super short. I think that's so badass, though, that birds will be like, I don't care who you are, I'm going to try and attack you. All right, we got a love poem. Yeah. Take it easy. It is 8:57 in the morning. So this is about my wife. Context, she's awesome, so I wrote a poem for her. I wrote this for her for Mother's Day last year. And because I'm an English teacher, there's a literary reference at the beginning, and if you don't know where it is, just listen for my juniors to start grumbling. You'll notice it right there. So this goes out to my wife. You might not remember, which is okay, that my juniors read a book called The Things They Carried. In it is warfare and sacrifice and pain. And they talk about, of course, the many things that each person carries with them. I thought about you and all the things that you can carry. You carry an easy laugh. You carry a smile that brightens the corners of my life. You carry the want of a clean house because the way things are on the outside affect us on the inside. There are things you can't carry, though. For instance, you cannot carry more than 3 shopping bags at one time. You cannot carry the dried pasta noodles to the top cabinet without using a stool or a chair. You cannot carry a dead spider in a floating cloud of Kleenex to the nearest toilet. You cannot carry a lie on your lips without smiling or laughing or turning your face away and doing both at the same time. But I think it's fair to say that I do not find it surprising that you can carry any weight of school supplies you want from your car to the school door and not feel any strain in your limbs, because you know who needs your time and effort and love. You carried our son for 8 months instead of 9, not because you let go, but because he was ready to fly on his own. You carry a strength that I cannot measure or weigh because it holds my insecurities and fears and other things that weigh nothing and everything at the same time, but you blink and they are gone. I outweigh you by 100 pounds. But I will continue to lift the boxes of noodles and bury spiders in water and open stubborn jars while I glance and see you holding up our family, our baby, our world, our hopes, and still have a hand free. Thank you. Not too bad. You know, kind of mushy, but not bad. All right. Time for a lighthearted one. So this one's a little different. This one's called a persona poem. And if you might have had your teacher explain what a persona poem is. If they didn't, a persona poem is a poem written from the point of view of someone or something else, okay, than the author. So this is a persona poem that I wrote. When we first met, Grant, I was shoved into your arms. I still remember locking eyes with you. You were terrified of being a 7th grader. We had a getaway in the locker room where, with a black Sharpie, you tattooed your name onto my chest. From then on, I was yours. I will admit, I felt a bit betrayed with every passing glance you gave to your crush in gym class. Even though we were seated in a straight line, cross-legged, I could feel your head move ever so slightly, my neck straining with yours. For 2 years, we danced. We lay in bed together. You grew distant. You shoved me aside, hidden from view. Probably changing with the times, you broke up with me for 4 years. Forgiveness is a bit tough, still to this day. But as the years went on, you realized the error of your ways. I knew you would. I remember seeing you after those 4 long years. With a gasp, you said, I forgot all about you. That kind of hurt. But then you said, this is the best day ever. Because I am your Walter R. Sunling Junior High School gym shirt. Your best, most comfortable shirt. I remember every curve of you, every scar. It hasn't always been a great relationship. Would it have killed you to wear deodorant a little bit more on the weekends? And some days, you know, I would like to go somewhere other than Target and the gas station. You've gotten fat. There, I said it. Newsflash, your metabolism slows down after college. I'm sorry, you may be offended, but notice, those rigid dress shirts you bought don't fit you anymore. They suffocate your genius, is what they do. They're so picky. Dry clean only, tumble dry low, wash with light colors. How boring, how restrictive. But not me. Notice, air dry me, tumble me on high, it doesn't matter. Has it never surprised you that while those other shirts come and go, shrink and deform, I have been here, fitting you perfectly. The other piece to your puzzle, as long as I could borrow your arms. Ours is a forever love. Some days in your closet, I feel the imprint of your tattoo, your name faded but not gone. Some days, I swear, I can still feel your heartbeat. Thank you. I wrote that poem, and as I was writing, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And then when I read it back to read for today, I was like, man, my gym shirt is a stalker. This is terrifying. All right. I really like this one. About 4 years ago, my doctor and I were talking, and he was just like, hey, have you ever thought about the fact that you might have mild obsessive compulsive disorder? So that was a fun conversation to have. And I said, well, kind of, actually. And so we talked a little bit about it. And I was dealing with like mild obsessive compulsive disorder and mild anxiety. Nothing major, but it was enough to kind of make an impact on like my day-to-day life. So I'm in a much better place. I've been working with the doctor on that for a few years now. But then this super cool thing happened about a year and a half ago. If we can just put that up there. Yeah, that's my baby boy. That's Max. Look at that little hipster hat he's got on there too. Got the Carhartt and everything. And if there's anything that's going to make you okay with disorder, it's a year and a half year old. Let me tell you that. So this poem is written to him. Before you, oh sorry, let me move the mic up a little bit. I'm going to use my hands a lot for this one. Can you hear me okay if I do it like this? Yeah. Okay, cool. Before you, Max, Daddy was a little particular. He made sure lights were off a lot. It's dark, the light is off. It's dark, the light is off. It's dark, the light is off. And the back door was closed. Turn the handle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He also made sure that the front door was closed. Shoulder to the door, push. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He also checked the garage door. That door is closed and that door is closed. That door is closed and that door is closed. And that door is closed and that door is closed. So that he could sleep at night. Your alarm is set. Your alarm is set. Your alarm is set. 5:20 a.m. 5:20 a.m. 5:20 a.m. Sometimes, on his way to work, Daddy would drive a mile away from home, only to drive a mile back and see that, yes, the garage door is closed, the garage door is closed, the garage door is closed. You see a white garage door, the garage door is closed. It sometimes made Daddy upset that even when he was most confident in himself, he couldn't help but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shoulder, push. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5:20 a.m. When Daddy talked to people, he said sorry a lot when he didn't need to. But he did it anyway because it made him feel better. Sorry to bother you, Daddy would say. Sorry about that, Daddy would say. Sorry, but thanks. Sorry for bothering you. But when you arrived, Max, Daddy started to realize some things. That counting is much better when he counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little dinosaurs with you. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 little surfers with you. That alarms set for 5:20 a.m. are pretty meaningless when he has you to wake him up at all hours of the night. That sometimes lights stay on all night, and that is okay. You also taught me that Cheez-Its belong in tea kettles. Pretzels belong in refrigerator drawers. Couches definitely need accents of Crayola crayon, and sometimes poop doesn't end up in a diaper, it ends up in the bathtub. And even though he tries, this doesn't mean that Daddy has it all figured out, Max. Sometimes he still counts the front door. Shoulder, push, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, before he puts you to bed. Or checks the garage doors. That door is closed, that door is closed, that door is closed, that door is closed. But sometimes, Daddy also sings the same song to you twice before you go to bed at night. Not because he needs it to be perfect, but because you are. Thank you. Good? Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
How amazing was that? Give them another hand, both of them. Awesome job. Great job. We're going to open up. We have about 5 minutes for questions. I can't see a thing, so just yell out. Questions for Mrs. Soto and Mr. Dawson. Mr. Dawson, yes.
Do you plan on reading that poem to your son?
Do you plan on reading the poem to his son?
That's a good question. I never thought about it. Do you think I should? Okay. Well, when he's beyond just saying, yeah, all the time, I'll definitely do that. He's also currently just trying to talk to Alexa right now, so I don't think the poem will we'll get through to him. But I definitely will, and I think it's also something too where we'll talk to him about like the things that I've gone through too, so that he knows about it too. Yeah, thanks for the recommendation.
Good question. Who else? Yeah, right here.
Mrs. Soto, how did you find out Santa was real?
Mrs. Soto, how did you find out Santa was not real? I just found out today, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of debated that. I'm like, are there any believers still in the crowd? How did I find out? I mean, the wine was a real good clue. I don't know. I don't think they actually came out and said it. It just kind of happened, and I was like, it was very anticlimactic. Certainly not as much as when you're a parent. But when you're a parent, you freak out about stuff like that. I remember like the first time I gave my kid peanut butter, because they're like, that's a big allergen thing. And I felt like I was giving my kid rat poison. I was like, I'm going to wipe it on his face and be like, oh. So I think it sticks out to you much more as a parent than it does as a kid when you find out. It's really not that traumatic for the kid as much as it is for the parents. So I wish I had an answer.
Another question.
In the front, second row.
Yeah.
Rose Soto, why wasn't your husband involved in killing Santa?
Why wasn't your husband involved in the Santa combo?
My husband wanted to kill Santa like when my child was in utero. He is just very like, it's not his thing. He's like, he really hates lying, which is good, but it's like loosen up a little bit, right? I'd be like, it's magic. He's like, this magic is stupid because you freak out about the elves and I freak out because you're freaking out about the elves. And he sleeps through everything, right? I'll wake up and be like, the elves. He's like, well, I'll just get it later, bro. And then he's asleep. I mean, the guy falls asleep in like 30 seconds, and I'm the one laying there like, hamster wheel going and things like that. So he was ready to kill it early. He's like, that's your thing. And so it became my thing. And that's it.
Another question. Yeah, right here. Did you read the love poem to your wife for Mr. Dawson?
I did. I asked my wife permission to read it today, and if you can notice this, like my horror movie one, I have like last minute notes that I made to it, and I talked to my wife. I was like, hey, can I read the Mother's Day poem that I wrote for you? And she's like, yeah. And she goes, you can't change a word of it though. And I was like, damn it. Okay. So yes, I did read it to her.
All the sappiness in. Anyone else? Yeah, over here.
Did your wife think that your t-shirt story was weird?
Did your wife think your teacher story was weird? T-shirt. I was like, I don't remember a teacher story. Okay.
Yeah, she did. She originally, funny story, the original line where it says we had a getaway in the locker room, originally was we had a romantic getaway in the locker room. And my wife was like, I know it's about a shirt, but you really gotta change that. That is not what you want to be reading at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday.
I think it's awesome that he still has it. That's awesome. Yeah, wear it tomorrow. One more question for today, for this period. Yeah, right here in the red.
Mr. Dawson, does your wife like your poems?
Say it louder.
Does your wife like your poems?
Does your wife like your poems?
Poems in general?
Your poems.
Yours.
I think so. I can text her right now and find out if you want me to. Wait, my wife just texted me. Hold on. Oh, that was nice. She said, it all in caps, love you, you're going to crush it. So that was really nice.
Well, they both crushed it. Give them a hand. Awesome job. Some quick reminders if you want a pin and a poster, come on up. Thank you.